In this bonus objective, we're going to look at the partner of sine and cosine that we haven't talked about all unit, which is tangent. All right, so how can we find tangent using the unit circle? We actually have to find a new definition for tangent. And the new definition looks like this. So if we want to find the tangent of our angle, we take the sine of the angle and divide it by the cosine of the angle. All right, why does this make sense? Well, sine, when we originally did it with our ratio, sine was opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine was adjacent over hypotenuse. And when you simplify this fraction, the hypotenuses cancel out, and you get opposite over adjacent, which was our original TOA for tangent. So it actually makes sense in terms of our trig ratios, but in terms of the unit circle, there's no ratios anymore, so we just say it's sine divided by cosine. As our first example, what is the tangent of pi over 4? All right, you could go through and memorize tangent. I actually have very few tangent values memorized, but I do remember that it's sine over cosine. So it's sine of pi over 4 over cosine of pi over 4. All right, using our unit circle and our special triangles, we know this is the square root of 2 over 2. Cosine of pi over 4 is also the square root of 2 over 2. These cancel, give me 1. All right, so tangent of pi over 4 is going to be 1. All right, the first step in all these examples is going to be the same thing. Tangent of 3 pi over 2 is sine of 3 pi over 2 over cosine of 3 pi over 2. All right, sine of 3 pi over 2, that's why I'm going straight down using my unit circle. I know that's negative 1. Cosine is 0. And the final answer here, negative 1 divided by 0 is not possible. This is actually undefined, or you could say it does not exist. All right, either one of these is fine. All right, it's undefined because you can't divide by 0. All right, so it's actually, because tangent involves division, it's sine divided by cosine, there's actually certain values of tangent that do not exist. So this is one of them. When you go to do the delta math problems, there's actually degrees mixed in, which we haven't talked about a lot in this unit. All right, but for tangent of 330 degrees, again, we would just find it on the unit circle. But it's sine of 330 over cosine of 330. Sine of 330 is going to be, I'm trying to do this in my head, sine of 330 is negative 1/2. Cosine of 330 is the square root of 3 over 2. All right, now I just need to know how to simplify this fraction. If you remember division, you can do keep change steps. So I'm going to keep the negative 1/2 the same. Division changes the multiplication, and the square root of 3 over 2 becomes, I flip it to 2 over the square root of 3. Okay. So the 2's are going to cancel, and I get negative 1 over the square root of 3. And that technically is the right answer, but it's not fully simplified because we're not supposed to have square roots on the bottom of a fraction. So what I'm going to do is multiply the top and bottom by that square root. It's going to be negative square root of 3. And when I multiply the two squares, they cancel, and this gives me 3. All right, so this is the actual simplified version, just like with the square root of 3 over 2 and the square root of 2 over 2 that we have in our normal unit circle. For tangent, we also get something that looks similar. Right, so here's one for you to try on your own. Find tangent of pi over 6. And the final answer you should get is the square root of 3 over 3. So this is actually the final answer there. All right, sine of pi over 6 is 1/2. Cosine of pi over 6 is the square root of 3 over 2. And this one simplifies very similar to our last example. The 2's cancel. We have to get rid of that square root on the bottom, and we get our final answer. As for this learning objective, we're going to complete problems on delta math. The problems are sine, cosine, and tangent. So there's not one that just did all tangent. So there'll be some sine and cosine ones mixed in. And they're also going to use degrees instead of radians. So, but if you have your unit circle, it has degrees and radians on it. All right, so it's the same thing, just finding your angle and finding the appropriate value. And then for the, again, the ones that say tangent, just remember tangent is the sine value divided by the cosine value.